So my name is J.C. Calderon. I'm an architect in Beacon, New York, and I've been volunteering with this summer camp program for many years, as have a lot of people in this room. So what we're going to start out with, we're going to basically have some music and a talk, a little music, and then more music with another camp alum, and then more talk, more music, more talk, more music. And should be fun. Basically, we're going to start out with, like I said, close friends Pete Seeger.
There was this fellow named Roland Burnett Sundown, one without a garden, Sonny, Tall Chief. So he had all these names, and he came from the Senecas, which is a part of the 6 tribes in the north, near Buffalo, Big Sur, New York, Akron. And I had this very lucky, really lucky, experience. The first woman I fell in love with was a Tonawanda Seneca. So I had a chance, it's like unbeknownst to everyone else. I would go drive, I had a car, I would drive up, don't tell me I had a car. I'd go to the reservation and hang out, where their major concern of their youth was to brag that they're not afraid of heights. Because most of the men would come to New York City and be with other Iroquois, building bridges, skyscrapers. So once they said, "Are you afraid of heights?" and I wasn't, that was like supposed to be a big thing. Okay? I'm bringing the microphone closer. Okay. This is recording, or this is on. So, what I heard about this formative counselor, he's never a camper, 1930, Sonny, as they called him, was not too positive. I mean, sure, some of it was the time, the period. In 1922, Roland Sundown was not a U.S. citizen. Senecas were not citizens. So, I don't know if you'd call it a chip on his shoulder, because he did the opposite of somebody with a chip. He connected with all Indian groups that he could, and he tried to make a kind of pan-Indianism. He was actually against the idea of Native American, especially since he wasn't even a citizen. And I brought some materials. This is an actual picture of him, which came out 5 years ago in a history book of Dartmouth. And I've been to Dartmouth. I don't know how many of you know of it. But for many, many years, until 1970, their motto was in Indian. And, you know, with PC, it's not looked upon so great, they moved it aside. Well, Roland Sundown was in charge of athletics at Dartmouth, where he got his bachelor's, and he was the Dartmouth Indian. He would wear this headdress, and he would lead the athletic groups, you know, wherever they were going, give the cheers as needed. He invented this slide out of wood, a special design that came from his tradition, where in Dartmouth, when they had the frozen lakes, they could slide and go past the ice like super speed. It's in their museum. They're kind of proud of this guy. But before that, he started off at 17 to get a degree in agriculture. And he did that in Virginia. And as a result of that, or possibly another reason, he became the nature counselor. The other reason might be, he's an Indian. Nature, perfect. But he was a musician. He sang, and it's turning out more and more that this tune that we used to sing at camp every Saturday night to get into kind of this very deep, introspective relationship with yourself and the other people with you. Wear blankets around a campfire, nobody would speak. He was the guy that made it happen. Turns out Freddie had a book from 1922, and the camp started in 1930, so you see there's a little bit of time. And the book was based on Amhak Camp, he was studying camps, and in this particular, it's O-H-M-O-N-K, however you pronounce it. In this camp, there was a book that had, according to Michael Engberg, one of our former executive directors, that had, this is 1922, right, 8 years before, Council was in there, How was in there, many of the ideas that they ended up using, like feathers for rewards, they would give Indian feathers. Kids would be divided up in tribes. This wasn't Rolling Sundown. This was the person who paid for the camp. He didn't choose the camp. That was left to somebody else to find the place, which happens to be right near here. 85 years of use. This year, no. And there's a hope to bring that back.
I want to thank people who are here today just from the community who maybe don't have close ties to camp, but who came just to hear about it. And that's one of my hopes, is that, you know, that we stay in the area and that we continue to forge relationships with folks who live here in Dutchess County, because it's been a great place to have a camp. I feel, I'm from Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, and I always felt like I was at home when I was here, not just because of the trees and the horse farms and things, but just the friendly folks who live here, the people who are so accepting. When JC asked me to sing a song, I immediately thought, well, I'm going to sing a Pete Seeger song, of course. I didn't know any on the guitar or the banjo, and so I started to learn this song, If I Had a Hammer, on the guitar, and it just didn't feel right. And I don't play banjo, but I've taken a couple lessons, and I learned enough to learn this song. So forgive me for not playing it well, but it had to be played on the banjo. Pete Seeger was a camper in 1935. He recently passed a year ago. He was 94, right? 94 years old. He lived a very simple life, as most of you guys would know. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and heard him talk and read about his life, and I'm just so impressed with the fact that he could have done anything with his life, really, but he chose music as his medium for change. And he just made changes that are lifelong, you know, building the Clearwater, and he lived in a simple house with Toshi and his children. He lived a simple life, and he was happy. And I think that's another lesson we can take into this new phase of Camp Rising Sun, but also I think this new sort of phase that our planet's going through. Like, you really can be happy living a very simple life. And with that, I would say, can I borrow that, sweetheart? I gotta have somewhere to put my, I don't even have a strap for this thing that tells you how. So what we'll do, and I know it's possible because on the way up here from Kentucky, I taught my daughter this song. She's really quick with things, but what we'll do is I'll sing, and if you want to repeat the song, I hope I'm not exposing myself. If you want to repeat the song, you're welcome. The stanza, you're welcome to, and then at the end we kind of sing together. All right. So I'll have a little intro here.
If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out a warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out the danger, I'd ring out a warning, I'd ring out for love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing out danger. I'd sing out a warning. I'd sing out for love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Do a little musical interlude here. And I have a band, and I have a song to sing all over this land. It's a hammer of justice, it's a bell of freedom. It's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters, love between my brothers and my sisters, love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land.
Yeah.
Whose fault is it when something like this goes wrong? Well, my position is that it's not really anybody's fault. Okay, that we have a legacy issue here. And that is that our legacy organizational structure, if you go back to the beginning of time, and you've heard Johnny speak about beginning of time for Camp Rising Sun, we had a founder and his followers. Benevolent, paternal, autocratic. What Freddie wanted was done. You took his orders or you left. Or he didn't keep you around. So this is kind of what we had. And as Freddie aged, of course, for camp to exist, there had to be a board of directors and officers at a certain point under the laws of the state of New York. So there were board of directors and officers in the chain of command, and in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they started to play a bigger role, from what I understand. I'm not an authoritative historian on the foundation. And for the first time, I've put out here in a chart, and you'll see, there are alumni. Well, in 1929, there weren't any important alumni, but by 1978, when our founder passed away, the alumni groups had grown considerably. So, when Freddie passed away, our founder's death came, we were left with a board of directors, which was a self-perpetuating small group, and generally it was the large donors who were going to step up and, contribute. This is not always the case, I guess. I'm not a complete, and it's gotten a lot better since then. But that was my impression as a young camper and ex-camper in the late 70s and early 80s. Still an autocratic style, not including alumni in decisions, other than self-identified alumni who would come forward and opt in to the government system. It's basically still a government by decree system. But we start to have a little bit of development in our structure. Still looks the same. We start to have committees, and committees became more important, and committees started doing things. It wasn't just Freddie, and it wasn't just the board of directors. Over time, this has started to happen, but as camp grew through the years, there started to be these separate islands of alumni out here. this worked pretty well for about 25 or so years. There was some recognized need for change around the turn of the century. About 2003 or 2005, somewhere in there, there was a second board created, a members advisory council. But from what I've been told by various insiders and outsiders, it seems to have been a good idea, but is not working well. We basically still have a government by decree, a corporate command and control style, and still have islands of alumni. Now, the board of directors has gotten bigger. It's more inclusive. That's an improvement. We have more committees. We have a lot more alumni directly involved. And we do have this thing over here called the Members Advisory Council, which in the bylaws has certain rights and responsibilities. And by and large, they execute them. But the other problem you see here is at the bottom, the proliferating islands of alumni. One of the things that happened to me personally was, I'm not even on it. There's no island for me. My local alumni group has never been active. From the time I graduated, we had our finished camp. We had maybe 2 meetings. So we don't really have any way to get through there. And the official response has always been, well, Paul, you should organize your local alumni. Well, that would be wonderful, but I've had a career and raised a family. I mean, camp is important to me or I wouldn't be here, but I couldn't do it all by myself.
So my hope is that next summer, instead of coming here and giving you presentations on our dysfunction, we'll be able to come and entertain the community in the same place for an afternoon and to thank everyone in the town for their support as we try, with everyone's help, to have a camp season again at Red Hook. If not next year, maybe the year after. But that's our goal, and we really want to thank the town for helping us. And I think the one thing Freddie wanted, and I never met him, he was dead before I was a camper, was he wanted a lot of leaders. It was a leadership camp. And the one thing I learned this past year is it did produce a lot of leaders. And sometimes when you get a lot of leaders in the same room, they don't all agree with each other. To push the Native American metaphor, you get a lot of chiefs and not many Indians. But we agreed today to try and work together to find a common goal. And we're not all going to agree on how we get there or if we get there, but at least they came together, and I think Freddie would be happy with that. So I want to thank everybody, JC for putting this together, the board for putting their part of the day together, and hopefully we can have at least a little bit more music. I kind of hope we'd hear more music today. But we'll have some more music, and thanks everyone, and hope to see you here again next year under better circumstances.
Yes.
All right.
One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shores, one earth so green and brown, who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try. Show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die. That's the chorus. When you try, it's a long chorus, but it's a little one blue sky above. One blue sky above. One ocean lapping all our shores. One ocean lapping all our. One earth so green and round. One earth so green. Who could ask for more? And because I love you, and because I love you, I'll give it one more time. I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race. To show my rainbow. It's too soon. It's too soon to die.
Some folks want to be like an ostrich, bury their heads in the sand. Some hope that plastic dreams will unclench all those green hands. Some hope to take the easy way, poisonous bombs they think we need. Don't you know you can't kill all the unbelievers? There's no shortcut to freedom.
One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shores, one earth so green. Who could ask? Who could ask? And because I love you, and because I love you, I'll give it one more time. I'll give it one more try. Children